Hello and welcome back to another One Piece video. So today I have Shanks for you guys. As you know, Shanks is one of my favorite decks as well. In OP11 I tried this list where we maximize as much like search power and draw power as possible. And so we have like the 4 Utas, the 4 Searchers, and the 4 Sanjis, or the Searcher events. And it felt really good in OP11, so I wanted to see if this is still really good in OP12. And as you can see, I loaded up on the top end for the deck just because this new 4-cost Shanks is really good, and Lucky Roux is really good in this format as well, just because all of the Rayleigh players that are coming out, any like aggro decks, these 2 cards in tandem just do a really good job in making sure that you survive so that in the late game you can drop down your bigger bodies. And yeah, not too much to talk about besides this new addition. I think the deck pretty much runs the same otherwise. I decided to include Rayleigh now, so Beckman and Rayleigh in here, just because I think the control variant of Shanks is just really powerful, right? Just because once we reach the late game, if you're not dropping these Shanks, if you somehow don't find these Shanks, you do want to drop, other answers. And sometimes I found that if you're only running Beckman, you won't have enough hits to consistently hit your like 7 costs or your 7 Dawn or 8 Dawn turn. And so that's why I added in the Newgate. Newgate just being like another substitute for Beckman. And then obviously Rayleigh as well, just in case you do go second and you don't have that Beckman on your 8 Dawn turn. So yeah, the list is pretty much the same as last time, so let's just hop over to some gameplay. Okay, so first game I got for you guys, it's gonna be against Green Bonnie, and Green Bonnie she's definitely one of those decks that are a little slept on just in terms of popularity, but I think she's a really strong pick, just because her being able to rest down every single turn, as you guys know already, she's able to stop stuff like Rayleigh trying to come back into the meta, and she's actually pretty good into the Luffy decks as well. So I'm interested to see how well she does in upcoming tournaments. But as the meta reports say in like the Cardi Kaizoku website, she is still very popular and she's still doing really well in the rankings. So first couple turns is pretty slow. Didn't find the Uta Searcher, and I actually didn't want to commit the Sanji here, just because I think dropping the Shanks on curve is really important, especially because we do run a lot of bricks in this build, and so against these slower decks, you do want to drop this 4-cost Shanks whenever possible. So we do just that, and I think I end up swinging with the Shanks here, right? Just because if I swung with Leader, I still want to pressure resources if possible. And if I swung with Leader, he's just going to get rested anyways. And so swinging in 7 at lead, we are able to get a life from him here. And then even though we do have 2 Shankses in hand, we are curving out perfectly, right? So I didn't feel the need to grab like another Beckman or more counter, just because we do have the Shanks on board as well. So like if we draw too many Shanks, for example, our next turn, we can always ditch it with this 4-cost Shanks. So yeah, looking pretty good right now. I think this turn swinging in 6 at lead, probably block here, right? Yeah, block with the Lucky Roux. I think I decided to counter out at first, but I think just using our Lucky Roux right away is just super important, just so he doesn't get that recurring value with the Rouge. But he didn't have another swing anyways, so that leader ability didn't mean anything. And then lucky for us, we did have a Beckman in hand, so we're able to answer his carrot here. And then next turn, yeah, we're just dropping bombs on bombs. So the Bonnie already being down to 3 life feels really good for us. I think if she drops down like a Eustace Kid into like a Rosinante or something, it might be a little dicey. But we do have 2 Rush Shanks coming in, and also the Pop Shanks if he plays like Doflamingo or something. So we're looking pretty good here. And then swinging in 9 into the Shanks. Yeah, I decided not to waste any counter here. I think there could have been some merit to use counter and save him, but just because we're so healthy, I think I'd rather play the long game and see if he can answer all of our tall bodies here. So this Rush Shanks here is susceptible to his 9-drop Shanks, and also susceptible to this Doflamingo here. And I think I decide to... I was contemplating putting him down to 1, but I'd rather just get rid of that Doflamingo right away. And I think he just scoops it up from there, because yeah, even if he drops down the Eustace Kid at this point, I have another Shanks coming down, and we just drew the 9-cost Shanks as well. There was just no way for him to get the tempo back on board, so yeah, able to get a win off of Bonnie here. Okay, so second game I got for you guys, we're going to be going up against the deck of the format, which is going to be Green Zoro. So first turn, we don't have any Utas or anything, so just not going to play. And then turn 2, able to find ourselves the Sanji, so now we're going to put down the Sanji, and then even if he played down the Kuina to rest the Sanji, at least we'd be able to get a draw off of that. So swinging in 9 at lead, no reason for us to counter out of that, just going to take it. And then starting off with a 6k swing here, I think I end up just swinging in 6-7, right, and dropping down the second Sanji. Just because in the Zoro matchup, you actually want to whittle him down with like these smaller swings as much as possible. Because Zoro does not like to use his 1k counters that much. And so if you can just, you know, minimum swing him down, like a bunch of minimum swings, obviously do that. But yeah, just whatever Dawn you have available. Try your best to work with that to get as many swings in as possible. So it is looking kind of scary for us. We do have a bunch of breaks in hand, but we just have to make sure that he's not aware that he can just keep on pushing. So at this point, I think we're at 7 Dawn here. So I could actually just play down like the Newgate or the Beckman. And I think I end up playing down the Newgate here. Deciding not to turn him sideways, I don't think. Oh, I actually do turn him sideways. Yeah, I think my reasoning is that I actually have so little counter that I'd rather him try to slam into this Newgate versus using, or like at least his Tashigi to swing into the Newgate versus swinging too many swings into our leader. But this is his 9 Dawn turn here, or 8 Dawn turn, sorry. So if he has the Mihawk, he definitely wants to drop that down if possible. And that's exactly what he does. So he has the Mihawk here, restanding for Dawn. He actually gives us a minimum swing with the Perona into the Sanji. And this swing, I decide to counter out. I'm surprised I didn't. I think I wanted to save the leader ability for his leader swing, just because it is swinging twice, and so we want to make sure that we can make him as inefficient as possible. So he swings in 7 here. Yeah, no reason to counter out of that one, and so our Sanji goes down. And luckily for us, we do have the Pop Shanks, so we should be able to pressure this Mihawk super hard. But I think we're only on 9 Dawn actually, so scratch that. So I think here he decides not to pressure life, instead trying to replenish resources, which is really good for us. I think this is like the misplay of his game here. But we do reduce the Mihawk and the TCG. That way our Newgate is now able to pop this Mihawk. And then just swinging in a 5k poke at the TCG here. Just trying to get as many resources as we can so that we can just drop bombs. But I think in this matchup, we actually don't need to drop any bombs against Zoro. Because now that we have this Divine Departure, it's really important to try to save as much counter as possible. Because of his restand event, he's going to be able to burst us like pretty quickly if we let him take too much life. Yeah, so luckily for us, this Rayleigh was able to make the TCG a 5k body. And so he's not going to be able to pressure us too hard here. So he swings in 6 at the Newgate. I decide here it's really important to try to save our counter now, or save our bodies on board. And so I probably ditch the Uta and Beckman, and I do. Because this Lucky Roo can be a win condition for us too, especially since we found the Shanks. So yeah, we do have a lot of bricks in hand here. But I think that it's going to be really important for us to keep this Dawn up, because since we only have this one counter in the form of Divine Departure, yeah, I actually end up not saving the Divine Departure. I think because if he swung in with his leader into life, this Divine Departure is not going to be able to save us anyways, unless he only swings in like 8k, which is very unlikely at this point. Yeah, so we're working with absolutely no counter in hand. If he decides to swing both of his swings into our bodies, we are pretty cooked here. So obviously have to let this Newgate go. And then he's probably going to swing into Rayleigh as well. And then one more to life, right? Yeah. And then at this point, our lose condition here would be if he has another restand event. And so I try to play around this by swinging in a 6k at leader. And then 8k. And now with 2 blockers up, we should be safe. Yeah, we should be safe from any answers that he might have. Yeah, because if he wastes his whole turn trying to crack into board as well, like attacking twice into Rayleigh, both of our blockers can help us get rid of those swings. And then we can just crack back, right? Just by splitting the Dawn next turn. So he does have the Kuina and the Tashigi. Being able to attach 6 Dawn to his Zoro. And so here he's actually going to swing pretty heavily into the Rayleigh, I imagine. Yeah, so here he's definitely going to swing into Shanks. But before Shanks dies, I want to make sure that he gets his ability off, just so we're able to defend our Rayleigh for the next swing. So this is why Shanks is so good, because even though Zoro restands himself, he'll have this minus 3000, and we'll be able to defend our Rayleigh here. So that pretty much wraps up the match. Yeah, because at this point, I would have split my Dawn anyways, but yeah, surprisingly, he still had 2 2k counters. And so a 9 and an 11 would have done it next turn. But yeah, really close game against Zoro here. Okay, so last game I got for you guys is going to be against Green Purple Luffy. I think that because Green Purple Luffy hasn't been touched by the ban list, that people are really trying to make him work, but yeah, my friend's been telling me that Green Purple Luffy really was only really strong because he was able to stand up to Blue Purple Luffy really well last format. But yeah, I guess we'll see where he stands as this format evolves, right? So I still think that Green Purple Luffy is a very strong deck, and you definitely should not leave him out when you're building your decks, right? Make sure you have him in consideration. And so actually in this matchup, you want to starve him as much as possible, because basically you're telling him, hey, whatever you draw, that's all you're getting. That way he's not gonna be able to consistently get his like Sanji and Pudding, not gonna be able to consistently like make his Zoro Joro combo or his Luffy Taro combo on 7. And then you're just gonna have a much easier time in the late game. So as you can see here, I'm just blocking as much as I can, and just developing board as much as I can as well, just because if he swings with his Zoro Joro here, that's when, you know, we start swinging into board. So starts off with a 7k at lead here. I think I take the first one, right? Just because if he swings in again, we'll be able to use the Shanks ability, the character Shanks, reducing his leader down by 2,000, and then getting that free block, or I guess not free, but getting that block with the character Shanks. But yeah, I guess it wasn't even necessary since we could just use both of their abilities here. So we do have the Divine Departure, thankfully, to get rid of this Sanji Pudding. So yeah, really important that we're only using our characters to get rid of his characters, because we do win in the late game. So just make sure that we're not getting too greedy. And then here I actually start to like poke in resources. The only reason being is because next turn we are finally able to drop our Shanks, right? So just to make sure that we're able to close out eventually, since our next turn is just going to be like a Shanks bomb, I think it's time now that we can start pressuring his life, especially because he had no real threat on board anymore, and he still has to deal with our Hongo and Sanji. So this is why Shanks is so good. We're able to leader ability his 6k swing and then get the free block from the blocker Shanks there. And then at this point, we're just dropping the bomb. Yeah, and then being able to drop the Shanks bomb with 3 life remaining, we're looking in a really good spot now. And I think I actually swing in. Yeah, I decided not to swing in with the blocker Shanks here, just because if he like loaded up, just wanted to make sure that we can get as much free blocks as we can. So right here, Zoro Joro swinging in 5 into 3. That's just going to be a free block from the Shanks blocker there. And then I think he swings in 7. Yeah, he actually swings in 7 at lead here. I don't want to get too low, so I probably just give him a leader in 2k. And then yeah, the Sanji and Pudding going up to 7 cost doesn't matter in this matchup, so we're just going to take advantage as much as we can. And then since we already developed the 10 drop Shanks, his Sanji and Pudding is in range for the Beckman, so yeah, it's gonna be really tough for him to get out of this one. So I'm forcing him to give us the Gum Gum and some, if he wanted to protect the Zoro Joro here. Yeah, and at this point, we really just have too much board tempo, and yeah, now I'm finally okay making our blocker go sideways, just because still we're at 3 life, and with him only at 2 life, if he puts down like that rush Luffy, we'll be able to clear him out next turn. So there's no real pressure of our board right now. And then obviously if he swings in with the Luffy into our Sanji or Hongo, I'm just gonna let them go. No real reason to waste our counter at this point anymore. And then we actually have three pump Shanks. So luckily for us, our 4/6 Shanks is still alive, and so he's gonna help us be able to get rid of some of these bricks out of our hand. And then again, we do have another Beckman, and so it's gonna be really tough for him to get out of this one. So I think I swing in 7, 8, 12. I honestly think I could have swung in with the blocker Shanks, but it's really unnecessary at this point. I just want to use the blocker Shanks, just make sure that he can get his ability and like another block if possible. So he finally is able to make a Luffy Taro play, but I think at this point it's just too little too late. We just have so many bodies on board that he's kind of forced to... Yeah, he's kind of forced to just try to push for game, or we're just going to be pressuring him way too much next turn. Yeah, so we are able to get a block here from the Shanks. And then another 6k. I'm just going to counter it out. I'm just giving him no way to try to close out this match. So here, I'm just doing what I can to pressure him without any Dawn commitment. And I was able to get rid of that Zoro on board. But yeah, at this point, I'm just like, hey, just give me another Gum Gum if you want to live. And he does. Just because if we pressure him enough, he's just simply not going to have enough Dawn to really crack back next turn. So swinging in another 9 at 6. And then he could have Gum Gum again, but again, like next turn, he's only going to have like 3 Dawn to work with. And so I think at that point it's just GG's, right? So yeah, that's basically it, guys. So able to scrape a win from green purple Luffy as well. So Shanks doesn't feel that bad, honestly, in OP12. I think the blocker Shanks really does help the deck on break, and also just surprisingly gives so much defense to the leader, just because one, we're able to be a little more greedy in our top end ratios, but also unlike Yasop, where you're spending 5 Dawn for a 5/6 and pumping your leader to 6k for just one turn, this Shanks can just block every single turn, and as long as you're able to defend him, that value is just insane. As you can see in this game, he just was never able to remove the Shanks on board, and ultimately that Shanks was able to keep us at 3 life all game. So yeah, that's basically it for the video, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.